Hi guys, it's Thomas Renee again, the head of voice and speech at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I just want to have a little conversation, just kind of riff for a second. I have nothing planned, but I did want to talk about specifically uh, just the general goals about breathing. Why are all of these exercises out there, and how can we kind of weed through the ones that seem to be moving towards a goal that's beneficial to us, and ones that might just be something for us to do, but we're not really sure why we're doing it, and they might not actually be giving us anything in the first place. Uh, my go-to is when in doubt, breathe out. That is, as I always joke with my students, that's my Tom Tweetable forever. Um, and the reason is this. What I know currently from my research so far, which could change as I continue to research and develop my teaching, but what I currently believe is that we will always breathe in. As human beings, as animals, we are designed psychologically, neurologically, to always breathe in because we need oxygen. That's our first need, right? Maslow's hierarchy. Our need for oxygen is the first action we really did. Yes, we're moving inside of the womb, but it's really the first action that we did when we were first born, right? The umbilical cord's cut and we gasped for air. And the first movement is that those ribs moving to breathe in oxygen. What we're not so good at is breathing out and getting all of that air that we breathed in out of our bodies so that we can refresh a whole new air. I believe, this is my theory, I believe the reason why this is because the in-breath is also a stimulus, a response to a stimulus of fight, flight, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze, I don't want to go too far in because this video will be 10,000 years long, but it is our startle reflex. And so that was back in the day when a saber-toothed tiger was coming at us, right? We either had to decide, are we going to fight? Are we going to run away? Or are we going to freeze and play dead? And so how our bodies respond to that is we take a quick inhale, the ribs are held high, and then they're stuck there. They may move a little bit, but they never get that full exhale. Now, a common day, a contemporary day stimulus might be stage fright, uh, being in front of the camera, going in for a job interview, any of those things that in a way our minds see as a life or death experience, even though logically we know they're not a life death experience, but our bodies still respond to it in the same way. So just so we can look at it, I have my bones. I love some good bones. These are real human bones. This is a thoracic bone, thoracic vertebra, and then this is a rib. Yeah, and just in case we don't know, this rib would go either above or below this thoracic, and it would be sitting in between another thoracic, either above it or below it. Now, normally, when it fits like this, we get the in-breath, and then we get the out-breath, and the rib twists down, and the in-breath and the out-breath. I may be exaggerating, the angle might not be exactly right, and this is a rough estimate, but hopefully you can get the idea. I'll breathe with that, so maybe you can kind of see my chest move. My ribs twisting up, my ribs twisting down. And so again, what I was saying is when we go into that fight or flight, our ribs twist up, usually pretty quickly, and they freeze. Now, that's the in-breath, so oxygen comes in, and it's going to oxygenate our blood and go to our organs and everything that we need oxygen to go to. But if the rib doesn't come down, if the muscles of the inhale don't release and allow the rib to come down, then the lung doesn't get to release either, and the air doesn't get to escape the body. That means we have all of this carbon dioxide trapped. And I just want to put into frame that carbon dioxide is a waste product. It's like pee. Yeah, it's just like stuff that we actually need to get rid of. And if it's stuck in there, it's just going to get toxic. So my go-to is whenever we're doing breath work, we want to focus on the exhale. because we want to make sure we get rid of that toxic material, get rid of that carbon dioxide, so that when the impulse to breathe in comes, we will get a whole new fresh batch of oxygen. There's a couple reasons for this, and I'll elaborate in future videos. But one is on a pure human level, for the basis of health, just respiratory health. I like to think of the breath like water in a way. Now, if we have a pool of water or a pond that is not moving, it's still, so the ribs are stuck upwards, the air is not moving. What happens to that body of water? It usually gets full of bacteria, it's stagnant, and so it gets dirty and mucky. That is not the pool that you want to swim in, and that's definitely not the water that you want to drink. Now, if we think of like a stream or a babbling brook, right? We have water that's actually moving. So air that's actually flowing, actually moving in and out, consistently ventilated. That's my key word. All of a sudden we get clean water. That water, it is consistently moving, so there's no chance for that bacteria to sit and fester. That's the water we want to drink. That's the water we want to swim in and play in. This is the same thing for our breath. So when we're looking at doing breath work, we want to make sure that we're freeing up the possibilities for the breath to move, not in a controlled, mechanical, rigid way, but really a free, fluid way. That's why I like to think of the breath as ventilation as opposed to capacity. So if this works for you, of course, it's always about you, but I like to think of any breath work that we do is about the ventilation of the respiratory system as opposed to working towards capacity, because then we have this idea of working on the in-breath. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say. I'm going to post a few more videos that expand on this and with an exercise or two about this that I personally like. But if you wanted to know more about the need for the inhale and freezing of that and what that panic state looks like, I would definitely suggest reading anything about alba emoting, which one of the patterns is fear, and you're going to see the breath pattern of fear within the method of alba emoting, or the not method, excuse me. Well, the system. They don't usually like to call it a method. You're going to see that breath pattern consistent to what I'm talking about. And you might also look at any work by Dr. Peter Levine, who studies trauma, and maybe the physical effects on the body, specifically the ribs, the elevated ribs within trauma, looking at fight or flight. I hope this helps. I know it's kind of a rambling conversation, but I just think there's sometimes a lot of confusion about breath work and what we're really shooting for. And if it is about control, rigidity, that word control, to me, it's not worth it. If we're looking at collaboration and freedom and energy, freedom, that's that word. That's what we're really looking for. And so just that last thought, when in doubt, breathe out. Just let the in-breath take care of itself. All right. Thanks, guys. I hope this helps, or at least gives you some thoughts to think about the practice that you're already engaged in, maybe clarify some things, or maybe have you ask more questions, which is always wonderful when you leave with more questions than you come with. Anyways, I'll talk to you soon, and yeah, keep practicing. Bye, guys.